It was the juice box that did it when Jordan Everett handed over his daughter's last grape juice box to the woman sitting alone on the bench outside the grocery store, still wearing her mud-streaked heels. He had no idea he was handing kindness to the CEO of a billion-dollar company. "Here," Jordan said, crouching to his daughter's level before turning to the woman. "She wants to share with you, said you look like you needed it." The woman blinked, startled. Her dark hair hung in soft waves over one shoulder, her designer blazer slung over her arm like a forgotten afterthought. Her knees were scraped, her mascara smudged, and her silence was louder than the crowd passing by. Everyone else had just stared, judged, whispered, but not him. "I thank you," she said, voice hoarse. Her fingers brushed his as she accepted the juice box, and for the first time in 20 minutes, her lips curved into something resembling a smile. Jordan smiled back, tired but genuine. "It's just juice, but it helps sometimes." The little girl tugged on his sleeve. "Daddy, is she okay?" "I think she's just had a hard day, sweetheart." He stood and placed a steadying hand on his daughter's shoulder. "Come on, let's get going." "Wait," the woman said suddenly, standing too fast and wincing. "Please, can I just say thank you properly?" Jordan hesitated. She didn't look like she belonged here. Her watch alone probably cost more than his car. But there was something in her eyes, something raw and real. "You already did," he said simply, then added with a soft chuckle, "but if you ever feel like paying it forward, grape juice is the way to go." "Noted," she said, her voice lighter now. She watched them walk away, him in faded jeans, a worn flannel shirt, carrying a bag of discounted groceries in one hand and holding his daughters with the other. He didn't look back. She'd never been ignored like that before. Not as Lana Anderson, CEO of Anderson Lux. Not as the woman who'd made her first million at 25, but maybe that's what made her heart twist in a way it hadn't in years. Lana didn't plan to see him again. She didn't plan to return to that neighborhood, that grocery store, or sit on that same bench, but 2 days later, she was there, watching the entrance from her black town car while her driver tried not to ask questions. She didn't even know why until she saw him. Same worn flannel. Same quiet smile as he lifted his daughter into the cart. Same eyes, warm, kind, steady. "Drive around the block," she told her driver. "I'll call you." She got out before she could second-guess herself. This time she walked up to him. "Hey," Jordan turned, blinking at her like she was a ghost. "You again. You make it sound like I'm haunting you," he chuckled. "Didn't expect to see you here." "I didn't expect to be here either." She glanced at his daughter, who was waving her juice box at her. "Hi again." "I remember you," the girl said proudly. "Her name's Chloe," Jordan said. "And I'm guessing you're not usually dressed like this." Lana glanced down at her crisp white blouse and tailored trousers. "No, but I figured if I was going to stock a grocery store, I should look presentable." He laughed again, and her stomach flipped. "What are you doing here?" he asked. "I wanted to say thank you for being kind, for not staring." "Kindness shouldn't be rare," he said with a shrug. She nodded. "Still, I'd like to buy you and Chloe dinner as a thank you." Jordan hesitated. "That's not necessary, I know," she said, "but I want to." Chloe tugged at his sleeve. "Can we go, Daddy? I like her." He looked between Chloe and Lana. "All right, just dinner." Dinner was at a small diner down the street, nothing fancy. Lana didn't insist. She liked the way he picked a booth near the window, how he let Chloe order pancakes even though it was after 5, how he let Lana talk but never tried to impress her. He didn't ask what she did for work, didn't seem to care about her watch, her shoes, her name. And for the first time in a long time, Lana didn't feel like she had to prove anything. Jordan told her about Chloe's love for dinosaurs, about the bakery job he'd picked up part-time while trying to fix up an old truck for extra cash. He never complained. Never once hinted at how hard things probably were. "You're raising her on your own?" Lana asked gently. "Yeah, her mom left when Chloe was 2, never looked back." Lana's heart squeezed. "I'm sorry, don't be, it's her loss." He said it so simply, like it was just a fact, not a wound. Chloe had fallen asleep against his side by the time they finished eating. "I should get her home," Jordan said, sliding out of the booth carefully. Lana stood too. "Can I walk you to your car?" He paused. "We walked here." "Then let me drive you home." He raised an eyebrow. "You don't even know where home is," she smiled. "Then tell me." His apartment was small, 2 flights up in an older walk-up building, but clean and full of life, drawings on the fridge, a tiny dinosaur-shaped lamp on the nightstand, a bookshelf filled with bedtime stories. He laid Chloe on the bed, kissed her forehead, and when he turned back to Lana, she was standing at the door, unsure if she should stay. "Thanks for dinner," he said. "I should be thanking you." "For what?" "For not treating me like anything other than a person." He looked at her for a long moment. "Whatever your story is, Lana, you don't have to tell me, but I like talking to you." Her chest tightened. "I like talking to you too." She took a step forward, so did he. And then, just inches apart, their eyes met, no pressure, no expectations, just something quietly electric. "I should go," she whispered. "You could stay." She looked at him, surprised. "Not like that," he added quickly, laughing under his breath. "Just stay for a while, talk." She nodded. And for the next hour, they sat on his worn couch, talking about everything and nothing, while Chloe slept soundly in the next room. Neither of them said the word love. But something had started, something real. Lana had never stepped inside a school gym that smelled like fresh paint and cafeteria tater tots. But there she was on a Wednesday afternoon, sitting on a folding chair that wobbled every time she crossed her legs, pretending not to notice the curious glances from the other parents. She didn't belong here. Her tailored coat said so. Her shoes definitely said so, but Chloe had invited her, and Jordan had let her come. "Don't expect a Broadway production," he joked that morning when she showed up with a thermos of hot cocoa and a scarf he didn't ask for. "It's preschool. There's glitter and chaos, that's the whole show." Still, Lana had accepted the invitation with a quiet nod, surprised by how much she wanted to witness this small piece of his world. She spotted him across the gym, crouched next to Chloe, adjusting the cardboard dinosaur hat on her head. He looked so at ease there, surrounded by sticky fingers and squeaky sneakers, like he belonged in this chaotic little universe. She didn't when he saw her. His expression shifted, surprise first, then something warmer. He stood and crossed the floor, dodging a rogue balloon with practiced ease. "You actually came," he said, folding his arms but not quite hiding the smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. "I said I would," Lana replied. "Besides, I was promised chaos. You'll get it. Chloe's a tree. She told me she was a brontosaurus. She's both." "It's a very ambitious role." Lana glanced toward the makeshift stage, where a paper backdrop sagged slightly in the middle. "I admire the range," he chuckled, and the sound settled in her chest like something she'd been missing. As the play began, Lana sat beside him, shoulder to shoulder on the too narrow bench. Chloe waved frantically from the stage, her branches brontosaurus legs flapping wildly. Lana waved back, trying not to laugh. "She's got stage presence," she whispered. "She gets that from her mom," he replied, and for a moment the world tilted because this was new. He'd never mentioned her beyond a passing sentence. Lana didn't press, but later, when the lights came back on and the applause faded, Jordan turned to her. "She was a dancer," he said quietly. "Chloe never knew her that way, but sometimes I see it, in how she moves. It's strange what sticks." "Do you think about her?" Lana asked before she could stop herself. "I used to," he said. "Now I just hope she's okay and that she stays away." There was no bitterness in his voice. Just a kind of resolved peace Lana didn't know how to name. Chloe ran up then, clutching a crumpled paper flower and thrusting it into Lana's hands. "I made this for you," she declared, eyes bright. "Because you came." Lana knelt to accept it, the corners of her eyes stinging. "I love it," she said, her voice catching. "Thank you." Jordan watched them quietly, something unreadable passing through his expression. They walked back together, Chloe skipping ahead, humming the final song from the play. They stopped at a corner where the bakery truck was parked, its back door open to reveal trays of unsold pastries. "I'm doing a late delivery run," Jordan said, glancing at the time. "You don't have to wait." "I'm not in a rush," Lana said, then added, "Can I come?" His brow lifted. "You want to help deliver pastries? Only if I get one. You drive a car that costs more than this entire truck. You don't know what I drive. I saw it yesterday. It has seats that remember your name," she laughed. "I'll sit in the back if it makes you feel better." He gestured to the passenger side. "Just don't judge the music." Inside, the radio played soft jazz, and the dashboard was cluttered with tiny dinosaur stickers, Chloe's handiwork, no doubt. Lana didn't mention the crumbs on the floor or the cracked vent. She liked that it smelled like cinnamon and vanilla. As they drove through narrow streets, dropping off brown paper bags to old diners and small cafes, Jordan told her about the first time he'd baked a cake for Chloe's birthday and forgot the sugar. She told him about burning instant noodles in college because she was reading a financial report while cooking. "Wait," he said, eyes flicking to her. "You went to college for finance, I went for economics," she said carefully. "Ended up in luxury branding." He nodded slowly. "That explains the coat." She glanced down. "It's just a coat. It's a coat that could pay for a month's rent." She let out a breath. "Maybe I needed to feel like myself today." He didn't ask what that meant, but he didn't need to. They parked outside the last cafe, where a tired-looking woman waved from the door. Jordan handed over the pastries, chatted briefly, then slid back into the truck. "She just lost her husband," he said as they pulled away. "Keeps the cafe going so her kids have something stable." Lana didn't speak for a moment. "How do you carry it all?" she asked finally. "I don't," he said. "I just keep moving, and Chloe keeps me grounded." The silence that followed wasn't awkward. It was heavy with understanding. Later that night, as the truck rumbled to a stop outside his building, Lana hesitated before opening the door. "I should head back," she said. He didn't stop her, but he didn't move either. "Thanks for today," he said. "It was different, good different." He met her eyes. "Yeah." "Good." She leaned in, kissed his cheek, soft and brief, not quite sure where the courage came from. When she pulled back, he looked stunned. Not in a bad way, just like he hadn't expected it. "See you soon?" she asked. He nodded. "Yeah. I think I'd like that." She climbed into her car, the one with seats that remembered her name, and for the first time in months, she drove without checking her phone, without thinking about meetings or market shares or profit margins. She only thought about a paper flower, a preschool dinosaur, and a man who looked at her like she was more than her title, and she realized she wanted him to keep looking. Lana was late, and Jordan was already pacing the sidewalk in front of his building, phone in one hand, keys in the other. Chloe sat on the front step with her backpack on, legs swinging as she hummed to herself. "I'm sorry," Lana said as her driver pulled up to the curb and she stepped out, wind catching the edge of her coat. "Traffic on 6th was a disaster." Jordan raised an eyebrow. "You didn't have to come." "I told you I could manage." "Chloe invited me," she said, glancing at the girl who was now beaming and waving a construction paper badge. "I wasn't about to miss career day." "I'm just saying," Jordan muttered, unlocking the door. "You've got meetings to run." "Empires to maintain." "I rescheduled one," she replied, "and postponed another." He looked at her, surprised. "I can make time," she added softly, "when it matters." Inside, Chloe rushed to her room to grab an extra drawing she'd made for the event, leaving Jordan and Lana standing in the narrow hallway. The apartment smelled faintly of cinnamon and glue sticks, and Lana noticed a new framed photo on the wall. Chloe, arms wide, in front of a giant papier-mâché volcano. "You put it up," she said. She insisted. Said it made the place look like a museum. "She's not wrong." Jordan glanced at her, then back at the photo. "She's proud of it. I didn't want to kill the vibe." There was a pause. "This is strange for me, you know," he admitted. "Letting someone else be part of this." "I don't want to take anything over," Lana said quickly. "I just want to show up when it counts." He didn't respond right away. Then, "All right. Let's go," before she gives that drawing to the neighbor's cat. The school was already buzzing when they arrived, kids dragging their parents toward classrooms transformed with posters and props. Lana followed Jordan and Chloe through the double doors, catching fragments of conversations and giggles echoing down the hallway. Inside the classroom, parents were setting up their stations, one man with a firefighter helmet, a woman arranging stethoscopes on a table, someone else balancing a model airplane on a stack of books. Jordan leaned down to Chloe. "You've got your badge." "Yep," she said, holding it up proudly. "It says my dad bakes and fixes engines." Lana smiled. "Quite the resume. I'm versatile," Jordan said. "You? Let's see," she mused, pulling out a small, sleek box from her bag and opening it to reveal a set of mock product samples, miniature perfume bottles, fabric swatches, and tiny gold embossed cards. Luxury branding. It's not as cool as baking, but it smells nicer. Chloe took one of the perfume vials and sniffed it. Smells like flowers and soap. I'll take it, Lana said with a laugh. As the event began, groups of children rotated through each station. Lana knelt beside Chloe as she explained what her dad did, how he baked cupcakes with sprinkles that looked like stars, and how he could fix a car engine with only a few grunts and a wrench. Jordan, bashful but amused, demonstrated the basics of dough kneading on a small mat he'd brought along, letting the kids press flour between their fingers. Lana watched from the side, her heart tugging. When it was her turn, the class gathered around her table. She held up a swatch of silk. "When you hold something like this, what do you feel?" One boy raised his hand. "Like my mom's scarf." "Exactly," Lana said. "I help make things that feel special. Clothes, scents, designs, things that help people express who they are." A girl frowned. "So, you make fancy stuff." "I help people tell their stories through what they wear and how they live," Lana explained. "It's not about how expensive it is. It's about how it makes them feel." Jordan watched her from the back of the room, arms folded. He'd never heard her talk about her work before, not like this. Not with that quiet conviction. After the crowd thinned, he walked over. "You're good at that," he said. "At talking to 6-year-olds, at making it sound like it matters." She looked at him. "It does." He opened his mouth, but before he could speak, Chloe tugged at her dad's arm. "Daddy, can Lana come with us to the park? We're going for ice cream after." Jordan hesitated. "It's okay if not," Lana said quickly. "I don't want to intrude," but Chloe was already bouncing in place. "Please," Jordan met Lana's eyes. "You sure you don't have a boardroom to storm?" "Not today." The park was only a few blocks away, quiet except for the occasional bark of a dog and the soft creak of swings. They sat on a bench while Chloe ran between the slide and the jungle gym, her cone dripping in the sun. Lana licked her own cone absently. "I haven't had ice cream like this in years." "What, no gelato flights in your office? Too cold for the conference room." Jordan leaned back, looking at her. "You're different out here." "So are you." He didn't argue. There was a beat of silence, then Lana turned toward him. "Can I ask you something personal?" Jordan shrugged. "You're sitting on a bench eating vanilla swirl with my kid. I think you've earned it." "Why haven't you dated anyone since?" He looked out at Chloe. "Because I didn't want her to think love was temporary." Lana's breath caught. She nodded slowly. "That's a heavy standard. It's the only one I've got." She didn't speak for a long moment. Then she said, "I thought I was in love once, a few years ago. But I think I was in love with the idea of being seen, not the person." "You're not invisible," he said quietly. She exhaled. "Sometimes I feel like I am, or like people only see what I can give them." "I don't want anything from you," he said. "I know," she said. "That's why I'm still here." Chloe came running up then, hair wild, cheeks flushed. "Can we go get pizza?" Jordan stood, brushing crumbs off his jeans. "That's a dangerous question around Lana." "I happen to be a pizza connoisseur," she said, rising from the bench. "Lead the way." As they walked toward the pizza place down the street, Lana reached out and took Jordan's hand without asking. He didn't pull away. They weren't a couple, not yet. But something had shifted, and neither of them was pretending it hadn't. Rain tapped against the windows of the bakery as Jordan carefully arranged the last tray of pastries inside the display case. He glanced at the clock. Nearly closing time. Chloe was sitting in the corner with her sketchpad, humming quietly as she shaded a dinosaur with a crown. Lana hadn't shown up yet, which wasn't like her lately. He wiped his hands on a towel and walked over to her. "Almost done, kiddo. You hungry?" Chloe nodded, eyes still on her drawing. "Can Lana come for dinner?" He hesitated. "We'll see, sweetheart." The bell above the door chimed. Lana walked in, soaked from the rain despite the umbrella she clutched, her heels making soft thuds against the tile. Her eyes met his and everything about her face said something was wrong. "Hey," Jordan said, stepping forward. "You okay?" She shook her head once and then quietly, "Can we talk?" Alone, he turned to Chloe. "Sweetheart, can you go in the back and check if there's any more of those marshmallow cookies?" Chloe leapt up and darted through the swinging door. Jordan faced Lana. "What happened, my board?" she said, voice tight. "They found out about us." "About you," his brow furrowed. "Okay, and they're threatening to remove me, to call a vote." They say I'm distracted, that I've compromised the company's image by being involved with someone who doesn't fit their narrative. He leaned back slightly. You mean someone who isn't rich? Lana looked up. They didn't say it that directly, but yes. Jordan crossed his arms. And what do you want me to do with that information? I don't want you to do anything, she said quickly. I wanted to tell you before they try to drag you into it. They'll look into your life. They'll twist it to make me look unstable. I've seen them do it before. Lana, he said, his voice steady, I fix cars and bake muffins. There's not much to twist. That's not the point, she said, stepping closer. I care about you, about Chloe. I don't want you caught in the fallout if I fight this. He tilted his head slightly. So you're thinking about walking away from your company, just like that? I've spent my whole life building a version of success that doesn't even reflect me anymore, she said. And you feel like the first real thing in years. I just don't know if I can have both. He was quiet for a moment, then asked, Do you want both? Yes, she said without hesitation. He nodded once. Then fight, she blinked. What? Fight for it. Don't let them decide who you get to be. If they want to come after me, let them. I'm not ashamed of who I am. You shouldn't be either. Her throat tightened. You're not worried what they'll say about you. This isn't about what they say. It's about what you believe. You think I'm a liability, Lana? No, she said fiercely. You're the only thing in my life that makes me feel like I'm not performing for someone else. He stepped closer. Then don't let them scare you. The door swung open again, and Chloe returned, holding a cookie in each hand. Can Lana stay for dinner? She asked, looking between them. Lana let out a shaky laugh. If it's still okay. Jordan looked at her, then at Chloe. Yeah, it's okay. Dinner was simple grilled cheese and tomato soup. Lana insisted on helping, even though she clearly had no idea where anything was. Chloe told them about a new book her teacher was reading to the class, complete with dramatic reenactments that made Jordan laugh so hard he spilled soup on his shirt. After Chloe had been tucked into bed, Lana stood by the kitchen sink drying the last dish. Jordan leaned against the counter beside her. I told them this afternoon, she said quietly. I won't be staying on as CEO. He turned toward her, surprised. I'm launching something new. Something smaller. My own brand. No shareholders, no board. He studied her for a moment. You sure about that? She nodded. I want to build something that reflects me, not what I was told I had to be. He reached out and gently tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. So what does that mean for us? It means I have time now, real time, to be present, to stop racing toward some invisible finish line. Jordan's voice was quiet. And you're not going to miss that world. I might miss the challenge, she said. But not the loneliness. He hesitated, then said, You know what scares me? She looked up. What? You're extraordinary, and I'm just me. I'm afraid one day you'll wake up and realize you want something shinier. Lana stepped forward until there was barely any space between them. You think I need shiny? Jordan, I've had shiny. I've had champagne and yachts and rooms full of people who smiled to my face and lied behind my back. You gave Chloe your last grape juice box. You didn't even know who I was. He exhaled slowly. That was a good juice box. She laughed, then grew serious. I love you. His eyes searched hers. Say it again. I love you. He brought his hand to her cheek. I've been falling for you since that day in the store. I just didn't think I was allowed to. You're allowed, she whispered. He kissed her slow and deep, the kind of kiss that made time feel irrelevant. When they parted, she rested her forehead against his. I want to be here, she said. With you, with her, for real. You sure? His voice was gravelly now. Because if you stay, I'm not going to pretend it's casual. I'm not asking you to. He stepped back, eyes bright with something fierce and unguarded. Then marry me, she blinked. What? I don't have a ring, he said, running a hand over his jaw. I don't have a plan, but I love you. And you love us, so I figured. Why wait? Her eyes filled, and for the first time in years, she didn't think about what anyone else would say. Yes, she whispered. Yes, 1,000 times yes. The next morning, Jordan opened the bakery 10 minutes late. Chloe was drawing hearts on the chalkboard sign out front. Lana, still in his hoodie, handed out croissants to early customers who didn't even blink at her presence. Later that week, Lana held a quiet press conference. No drama, no theatrics. Just a clear, proud announcement of her new venture and her engagement to a man who made his living with flour and fire. The media tried to spin it, of course, but she didn't care. She had her own story to tell now. And it started with a juice box, a scraped knee, and a man who saw her before anyone else did. The doors to the community center opened to a flood of spring air and the scent of fresh cut grass. Inside, fairy lights were strung across the ceiling, and folding chairs had been dressed with white sashes and eucalyptus sprigs. A pianist played softly in the corner, warming up with a version of La Vie en Rose that made the air feel warmer. Jordan stood at the front of the room, adjusting the cuffs of his shirt. He'd shaved, narrowly avoided burning the collar of his dress shirt with the iron, and somehow managed to keep Chloe's glitter glue off his slacks. He looked nothing like the man who had once thought he'd be alone forever. The room was filled with faces he'd come to know over the last few months, neighbors he used to just nod at in passing. The baker who taught him how to temper chocolate properly. The cafe owner who'd asked for cinnamon rolls on consignment. Even Lana's former assistant, now the head of her new marketing team, sat near the aisle, holding a bouquet of peonies in her lap. Chloe stood beside him, her dress a swirl of soft green tulle, her hair pinned back with a gold clip shaped like a star. She held her small bouquet like a professional, chin high, eyes scanning the door. "She's coming, right?" Chloe whispered. "She's coming," Jordan said. "I picked the song," Chloe added. "I know." The pianist shifted into the melody Chloe had chosen, a soft, instrumental version of the theme from the old animated movie she'd made Lana watch 3 times in a single weekend. The doors opened again, and there she was. Lana walked in slowly, her dress a soft ivory with delicate embroidery along the hem. Her hair had been swept into a low twist, and around her neck was a single gold chain with a tiny charm shaped like a dandelion puff. She held her bouquet loosely, eyes fixed only on him. Jordan didn't breathe. She reached him, and Chloe handed off her flowers to a volunteer before taking her place between them. Lana looked at Jordan, lips parted as if she might say something, but the officiant stepped forward. They hadn't wanted a long ceremony. No speeches or dramatic readings, no flash or spectacle. Just vows they'd written together, and the quiet presence of people who knew what it meant to choose love after life had already bruised them. "I promise not to run," Lana said, voice steady. "Not when it's hard, not when I'm scared. I promise to stay, even when I feel like disappearing." Jordan's hand tightened around hers. "And I promise to make space for all the parts of you, not just the polished ones. I want the early mornings, the doubts, the messy days, all of it." When they kissed, it didn't feel like a grand finale. It felt like breathing. Later, at the reception, Chloe danced with the baker's son under the string lights while Lana and Jordan stood near the dessert table, watching her spin in circles. "She made you a card," Jordan said, reaching into his pocket and handing Lana a folded piece of construction paper. Inside, in bright crayon letters, Chloe had written, "Thank you for making us a family." Lana held it to her chest. "I didn't think I'd ever get this," she said quietly. "The love. The peace. The normal." Jordan turned to her. "It's not normal, not to me, it's everything." She touched her forehead to his, eyes glassy. "I'm not going anywhere, I know." They danced. Not a choreographed first dance, but a slow sway near the back of the room while Chloe clapped along with a group of kids trying to form a conga line. Lana's heels were kicked off somewhere under a table, and Jordan had frosting on his shirt from the cake Chloe had helped cut badly. When the night ended, they walked back to the truck. Not a limo, not a town car, just Jordan's old truck, decorated with trailing ribbons and a "just married" sign Chloe had written in marker. They drove to a small lake house outside the city, one Lana had found on a whim while scrolling late one night. It had a wraparound porch and a hammock and no cell service. It wasn't a honeymoon in the Maldives, but it was theirs. That night, she curled into his side on the porch swing, a glass of wine in her hand and her bare feet tucked under a blanket. "This is the first time in my life I haven't felt like I had to win something to be happy," she said. "You didn't win me," Jordan said. "You just showed up." That was enough. She kissed his shoulder, lingered there. "Do you think she'll be okay with all this?" He glanced through the screen door where Chloe was asleep on the couch, clutching her stuffed dinosaur to her chest. "She already is." Years passed, but the rhythm stayed the same. Lana's company grew slowly, deliberately. She hired locally, mentored young designers, and refused every interview that tried to define her by her past. Jordan took over the bakery fully, expanded to a second location, and taught Chloe how to fold croissants before she could spell the word. They bought a house with a big yard and a crooked tree that Chloe turned into a reading nook. Lana planted a garden, though the herbs always died. Jordan built a treehouse. Chloe got braces, and they stayed in love. Not the kind of love that burned wildly every second, but the kind that held on through the early mornings and the grocery runs and the quiet moments when one of them reached for the other's hand without thinking. On one of those quiet mornings, Lana sat on the deck sipping coffee, a weathered card in her lap, the same one Chloe had made all those years ago. "Thank you for making us a family," she smiled, looked up as Jordan stepped outside, rubbing sleep from his eyes. "You're thinking again," he said. "Just remembering." He pulled her into his arms, kissed her temple. "We've still got more to make," and they did together, always.